Sergeant Velasquez, the young Marine sergeant, the squad leader who had first identified Amenah, and his platoon commander, Lieutenant Steve Dobb, they had alerted me to the fact that there was a problem with the little girl. So as Amenah walked across the room and climbed up in my lap to eat a piece of chocolate, she captured my heart, and of course the heart of the Marines. And all of us, or most of us, had small children that we'd left behind. And one of the ways that I broke the ice with the Iraqis, I usually carried around a crumpled up picture of my wife and children, and they'd pass that around. We'd talk about our families, have some common ground. And so I had a little girl at home, not much older than Amenah. And it seemed to me that if the situation were reversed, that I would want for someone to do for Rachel what I was tried to do for Amenah. Sergeant Velasquez had obviously been through the decision-making process and decided to engage me and say, "Sir, I want you to see this little girl and see what we can do about helping her." And then after I had met with her, was I going to bring this to Colonel Bellin's attention? And so I tried to be very judicious about the issues that I brought to his attention. So as I walked back, we walked back from the northern part of the city there, and after dark, and I got to my CP, which was a bombed out Iraqi high school, and sat there beside my cot and reflected on what I had seen. The problem did seem a little overwhelming. What were we going to do? I mean, I'm certainly no open heart surgeon. What am I going to do to help this little girl? And to some degree, the folks were counting on us to help her in some way. They were depending upon us to do something to help this little girl. It was pretty clear to me when I woke up the next morning that I needed to go see Captain Nadeau. I knew that I would have to enlist his expertise to see if it was even in the realm of possible. Medically, is this something that can be helped? And then after I spoke with him, I think he and I decided together that we were going to speak with the battalion commander about it.
Major Kevin Gerard and one of his squads was on patrol, and they came across a little girl. And the father had approached them to help this little girl. And the sergeant at the time has had two choices. On any patrol, he's approached dozens of times with dozens of issues. And you simply cannot address every single issue. But he did engage on this particular issue, Amenah. He came back to Kevin Gerard and he described the situation. Again, Kevin had a choice. He has hundreds of issues every day to deal with. And he could have decided to either engage on this issue, address it, or to pass on it, which certainly would have been the easier decision. He decides to engage. And ultimately, he brought it to me. And I had weighed it out pretty carefully. It took about an instant to figure out, what the cost-benefit analysis was of doing this, whether to engage on the problem and develop it further or to pass. And candidly, based on my faith in Kevin Gerard and my belief in him and in Captain Nadeau, Dr. John Nadeau, the two that had already scrutinized this problem set, I immediately decided to engage.
Once we discerned and there was consensus that this was the right thing to do, then of course all that remains is to be courageous enough to pursue it relentlessly. And it became very apparent that Amenah's life was at stake, that we were going to weight this as a main effort to help this little girl as part of our overall efforts to help the Iraqi people there. And so whatever obstacles came into our path, we were determined to overcome those obstacles.